Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the DCU Soccer Podcast. I'm joined again by James from DC United Kingdom. You want to say hi, James?
Hello. How are you doing, Ken?
Doing okay, I guess. Pretty hard stretch of games here, I guess. But yeah, do you also want to tell listeners a little bit about what you've been up to? Maybe some stuff that's on your podcast or on your blog or anything like that?
Yeah, why not? So if it's your first time tuning in and it's the first time you've heard me, my name is James. I run the DC United Kingdom supporters group, which you can find us at DC United Kingdom over on Twitter. Some things that kind of made a little bit of a talking point, a little bit of debate, as you would have probably seen, Ken, was my views on promotion and relegation. That kind of got a few people talking over on Twitter, which I was kind of happy about in a way. I wanted to get that debate going, and I'm keen to hear about what you think about it as well.
Yeah, that kind of debate's hard because it does spark a lot of it, especially over here. Yeah, I mean the article is very interesting. You should definitely check it out if you haven't already. But yeah, I mean I think it's a hard topic because it is something that is going to be difficult to do, right? But potentially could give us some really good upsides. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to kind of say a definitive answer, but it's kind of what I wanted to put out there was what I felt works, and hopefully it'll be a case of if you don't agree with it, I'd like to hear your thoughts behind it. I've heard some great and interesting theories behind it, why it doesn't work, or why it wouldn't work anyway. And like I said on that post, I've put across what I think would work, because it's for me it brings across the drama, it brings across excitement, it brings heartache. It just brings the game to kind of a different level. I don't say a new level or great level, it's a different level, depending on which end of the promotion or relegation you sit at, obviously. But it's something that I feel is lacking in MLS when you look at some of the teams and they just sit there down at the bottom and not playing for anything. But it just means that they would be playing for something.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that is one of the hard things about the implementation is the fact that MLS is franchise based and single owner. So I'm not sure a lot of the MLS owners would be too happy about paying 100 million or now 200 million to get in and then getting relegated to a potentially MLS2 league. But who knows? It could happen. They could figure that out. It's definitely probably a solvable problem. It's just hard.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Finances do play a massive part, especially in American sports in general, because there's a lot of franchise stuff out there, and there is ways. I mean, it's something I could go into a hell of a lot more detail, but I don't think we've got long enough on one particular podcast. I think it would have to be a series.
Yeah, that would be a cool series though. Cool. So we haven't had a podcast in a while now. I think the last time was right before the Atlanta game. So do you want to talk a little bit about the Atlanta game first? Just a small recap. Yeah.
Really? Do we have
Yeah, we must.
I suppose it's going to be the better ones out of the more recent games anyway.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'd imagine everyone who's listening will already know what that result was, but it was a 2-0 defeat, right at the death as well. This game I actually watched with my parents. I did go up and visit them, and they were keen to watch it. Probably not so much after the game, and it was. I felt the first half was better than the second half. We seemed to create a few counter attacks. Then the second half we didn't. And it kind of felt a bit opposite to the game against Cincinnati, the previous game, where the first half wasn't a great half, but the second half we turned up, and I don't know what's going on with this club at the moment. We can't seem to put a solid 90 minutes together right now. In that second half, we had wave after wave of Atlanta attack.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the point that we had some chances in the first half there, but we kind of just really bunkered down in that second half.
Yeah, it was. It's never pleasant to see that, is it?
No, it definitely is not. So yeah, I mean, it was not the best game. I was there, so that was kind of cool.
Yes, you were. Yeah, I mean, those photos you took, the stadium looked fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and like I went to visit my dad down there, and we went together. But yeah, the experience is pretty good. I wrote a little bit about it in one of my posts recently, but it was not as loud as I thought it was gonna be. But it was pretty loud, and the environment was kind of crazy, and like it was definitely one of the stadiums that I would recommend visiting. There was kind of weird though that there wasn't like too much around the stadium. Like there wasn't a lot of like restaurants or bars or stuff like that. So like it kind of felt a little strange. But yeah.
Oh, it's a fairly new stadium after all, so I'd imagine over time that will just get better and better, and as more history is built up over there, I'd imagine it will just get, I say, just get better and better.
Yeah, I was definitely looking for something to eat, but couldn't really find too much. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool. Definitely recommend it if you have a chance to go down there. I mean, it's a lot of people in the stadium and a lot of passion for their team, and it's really cool to see.
One little question:
Yeah,
how much were the beers?
they were not too expensive. I don't remember exactly. They were definitely less than $13.
That's fair.
Uh,
That's the kind of thing I was aiming at. They're cheaper than Audi Field then.
Yeah, by a lot. I think like when you have 45,000 people every game, it makes it a little bit easier for your pricing. Because you literally have two times the amount of people to sell to. But yeah, it was cheaper. Like the prices are pretty reasonable, and yeah, it was just a pretty much like nice experience. And yeah,
Good, good. It's just a shame that the experience on the pitch wasn't as good as off the pitch there.
yeah, it was not that much fun of a game, especially in the second half. It's kind of like just hoping that we didn't concede, and then of course we did. But
Yeah.
but
And
yeah,
that penalty, I want to talk about Martinez's, or as I tweeted, Joseph Chokinez, his penalty that he took, that his hop, skip, and a jump penalty. Um, I just sat there watching it with my parents, and they were just in hysterics after he missed because they were just like, "What the heck was he doing?" And it's kind of one of those penalties where if you do it right, it looks great. It looks like you've got that little bit of an arrogance about you. You know what you're doing. But then when you miss and you miss like that, where Bill Hamid just stands up and he just doesn't commit to any direction, and you just see it, and it's just like you just made Joseph Martinez, a record breaker in MLS, look like an absolute fool.
yeah, absolutely. He definitely shanked that. That was pretty bad. It kind of took all the air out of the stadium. It was kind of a like really strange moment. Um, but I mean, after that moment, I was like, oh, like we actually have a chance to get some points out of this. But no, we ended up not. You would have thought that the momentum would have been on our side. Bill Hamid had a great game that game, but it just wasn't for us.
Yeah, it really wasn't. It was a shame that after all that he'd done during the game, and obviously that penalty save, we just couldn't hold on for those last 5 minutes of the game. And nobody was picking up Pity Martinez running in the box. That's where I thought Knaus or Moreno should have been picking him up. And then we suddenly woke up and went for an attack, and then we just caught on the break. And after leaving everyone up top, and Joseph Martinez anyway, did what he does best and just puts it into the back of the net.
Yeah, definitely felt like it's well, I mean it's going to be hard to bunker like that for so long because it just takes one a missed mark, right?
Yeah.
And then it's all for nothing, especially when you just wave after wave after wave. It's eventually probably going to slip through. I mean, especially with a team like that with as much talent, like there's only so much you can do after, 85 minutes, and so trying to possess the ball probably would have helped a little bit. I know that like Atlanta struggled against some of the bunkering teams, but we did have such a low possession number that like they pretty much had the ball the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I don't necessarily fault the coaching staff for that strategy, but I mean, it was a relatively a gamble, and we lost. And I think we could have gone in there and played open with the talent we have. And so, yeah, I guess just a gamble that, yeah, we didn't come out the winner.
Yeah, I was speaking to Rory on my last episode, one of the staff from DC United, and we were just talking about that game, and we were just saying about the energy and how much energy was expelled during that particular game for being on the defense for so long. There is only so much there, and when you do get tired, you do have lapses in concentration. And you could see in the post-match interview with Ben Olsen, he genuinely looked proud of the players for the amount of effort that was put in and how long we were able to keep the likes of Joseph Martinez at bay and the saves that Hamid was making. All we needed to do was just take one of those chances in those first half, whether it was Areola or whether it was Titi Rodriguez or Acosta or whoever. One of those chances just had to go in, and that game would have completely changed. And it was just one of those days where the shot on one side of the post, if it went to the other side, it would have been a completely different story. And unfortunately, the story unfolded into Atlanta's favour.
Yeah, absolutely. I did. I thought it was interesting that they started Acosta as the striker, considering like if we're gonna play like the counterattack game, he's not necessarily the most pacey person to put up there, and not necessarily someone who can really hold up the ball either. But we did see Pagliarola get some of the breaks, but still was kind of interesting to see Acosta up there. What did you take of that?
That it was a big shock to start off with, especially when it was announced that Rooney didn't travel with the team. That was the biggest shock of all. But having Acosta as they would describe it as a false nine, the kind of Lionel Messi role, he's not that kind of player, and I would have much preferred to have Quincy up top rather than Acosta, because Quincy is the kind of player who could hold up the ball and then allow players to come into the game rather than being this little short dude who's making his runs a little around the pitch, but he's not able to hold the ball because so many players are just literally all over him very quickly, as we've noticed in previous games. So, yeah, it was a bit of a shock. I was a little bit disappointed in that decision, if I'm honest. I would have preferred to see Quincy up top rather than Acosta.
Yeah, and Quincy does have a little bit more pace as well. He's not, the fastest dude ever, but he does have a little bit more. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought it was strange. I am not quite sure what they were thinking there, especially if they were definitely going in with the game plan of bunker and counter, which it definitely seems like they were.
Mm.
But yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's one of those games where it was always going to be a tricky game, especially against that kind of side. And I just hope that we've learnt the lessons from that game where we're playing a top team. We shouldn't bunker down and hope for a counter and hope we get one chance when we're only going to get maybe 3 or 4 attempts during the entire game where we're not going to have 45-50% possession. It's just we need to assert ourselves on the games, I think, and we've just not done that enough recently.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess speaking of not asserting dominance, do we want to talk about the friendly real quick?
The one against Marseille.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well, considering it wasn't broadcast over here, just that result on its own speaks volumes. 8-1 defeat. But on the flip side, we didn't have any of our starters playing, so it's kind of for me, it's a bit of a non-result. It's a game that I don't think should have been played. It was midweek in between 2 travel games, and I really don't know why we, as an organisation, are doing this. It just makes us look really bad, and I genuinely don't see I don't see much of an upside apart from extra revenue that might have been brought in, but I don't think the attendances were that great either from those games.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I watched it and it was like, yeah, not that great. I mean, I will say we went into halftime with a 1-1, and I think they brought in all their starters and we didn't really do anything. So yeah, it's kind of not a surprise that we kind of got destroyed there. Pretty much playing a Loudoun United, uh, team against one of the best teams in Europe, kind of. So, I mean, it's gonna be hard to win those games. I'm not necessarily sure that like we should have played this game or like played it like this or played it at this time. I guess it does make us look bad. I think that was like the largest defeat in our history or something, and so yeah, that was not fun. I think they need to figure out something better with the friendlies
Yeah.
because like it doesn't make me want to go to the next friendly either. So
No, that's it. It's with the friendlies, it's about getting a new type of audience in. And when you go to a game and you see your potential new team that you're going to support getting absolutely obliterated, it's kind of like, what was the point in that? It's just wasted 90 minutes, 2 hours of my time going to watch that kind of game. But if it was me, I would not be playing in the middle of a season. I'd be playing when we've got a little break on. So when there's internationals on there, yes, you're still not going to get a full team out, but you're going to have much better side out than you would do normally in these friendlies when it's in the middle of the season, right in between two road games. If it was me, yeah, I'd be playing them in internationals, whether it was like in June time where you've got the off season in Europe, so you still got those teams willing to travel and play in those games, and you've got international, so you've got maybe the likes of Areola away on international duty, you got Moreno away, but you've still got the likes of Rooney around, you've still got the likes of Bill Hamid around, unfortunately, who would be willing to play a game because there's not anything going on. I mean, we had that, was it a 2 or 3 week break between games in June? That was ripe for those types of friendlies.
yeah, definitely. I think that kind of timing or something has to happen because like I don't think you're gonna get that many people out there for a yeah like a Loudoun United side playing someone like this because I think we all knew how that was gonna kind of go. But yeah, I think yeah, it's just
And
not good.
at least we scored.
Yeah, Quincy scored.
Yeah,
He's been kind of killing it recently with scoring in I think both friendlies we've had and in a league match. So he's kind of hard to say that he shouldn't be in the starting 11 kind of.
yeah. And the reason why I said that is we've not really scored that many goals recently, have we?
No, not at
No,
all.
no. I mean, we could possibly talk about that game on Saturday night if
If
we
we
if
if we
if we
must.
must. Yeah,
Yeah.
we probably should, seeing as we are going through the games. I mean, that was bit of a shocker to say the least. And yeah, I mean, one shot on target in the entire game, which was from a free kick. So no shot on target from open play. Possession wise, I think we had a decent amount of possession for once. But it was tricky. Donovan Pines didn't have. He had one of his worst games I've seen him play because his passing was just it was all over the place. I don't think he really found too many of our plays that often, and yeah, it was just a difficult watch to say the least because even the atmosphere wasn't that great there either. So it wasn't a case of the crowd were being loud or anything. It was just yeah, 1 o'clock in the morning, staying up to watch it. Kind of wish I didn't.
Definitely Donovan Pines struggled a little bit. I thought defensively he was okay. Definitely gave the ball away too many times. That's something we've been struggling with a lot this season, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, we started out with the three-man back, which meant we had to drop someone, and we ended up dropping Joseph Mora to get Titi Rodriguez and Acosta on the wing up there. Uh, yeah, I'm curious what you thought about that when you saw the lineup and like what you think of it now.
Yeah, no, in sort of my pre-match build-up, I was talking about obviously what I thought the lineup was going to be, and I kind of put out there that I reckon it would have been a 4-2-3-1. Then going back to what would have been our strongest lineup. But there was word on the street, well, not on the street, on Twitter, was that Mora had some issues with visa, apparently. So he wasn't training as much, but he was on the bench. And if it was me, if he's on the bench, he's fit enough to play. So why didn't he start? But it was kind of we've gone with the back three. We've done it a lot recently, so in a way, it was kind of nice to see consistency there. But I wouldn't have had Rodriguez as a left wing back. I would have, as I think we've both of us have been very vocal, and we would have both probably dropped Acosta and had Titi Rodriguez up top instead, and Mora as the left wing back.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's going to be even harder to get Acosta in if we're going to play that 3-4-3 because there's not really a good like central role that's not the striker there. And having him on the wing, I don't he pops out there a lot, but like having him as an out and out winger to get width and stuff is not necessarily something he's that great at. I mean, even if you compare him to like Titi Rodriguez or Areola on a normal day, like you can tell the difference there, even with just speed and that kind of thing. But yeah, I was kind of frustrated with Acosta's performance. I mean, if we're gonna talk about giving the ball away, I think he did it the most probably, and then Donovan Pines, he got on the ball a lot, which was good, but didn't really make too much of it.
No, you're right. He did give the ball away a lot, but it was nice to see him getting on the ball, which he hasn't done a lot recently. So the fact that he had the ball and he kept it for a little bit, and he was making some good runs, I thought. It was just the end. There was no end product. There was no pass that he was making to keep that run going or anything like that. But he did have a good couple of attempts on goal. I'm just looking at the stats. He had 4 attempts on goal. There was one in particular that I remember in the second half where it just fizzled past the post. And again, it's those fine margins that we keep putting ourselves in this kind of position where we're relying on these very, very fine margins. And at the moment, they're not going our way. We're just not having enough attempts on goal and enough oomph. I want to say, I can't think of the right word, but enough pizzazz or whatever about our game right now. And yeah, it's kind of a tricky one because if we're going to stick with a 3-4-3, yeah, Acosta would be out my team at this moment in time, which is sad to say, but in a harsh, cruel world, this is football. Someone has to be left out in this game. It's a game of 18 players. Someone needs to be on the bench. At the moment, Acosta would be my bench guy, but Canouse picked up an injury, didn't he, during that game?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure what it was. I don't think there's been anything about it, but it looked to me like he like cracked a rib because he like went down a couple times and he was saying he couldn't breathe and stuff. And usually, if you like just get the wind knocked out of you, you're fine in a couple minutes. At least you can breathe. But if he cracked a rib or bruised one, then that's not gonna be good for sure.
No, and kind of my thinking behind this particular point anyway is I can't imagine Knaus being fit for the next game with the way he went down and the way he was struggling. So hear me out on this one. We continue with the 3-4-3, but instead of whacking Durkin in the centre of midfield to replace Knaus as a like for like replacement, which to be honest, that's probably going to happen. But how about partnering Acosta up with Moreno in the centre? So you've got one centre midfielder who's mopping up the play, but then you've got a playmaker.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think at this point, I'd rather just return to the four back. And
Yeah, true.
and even honestly, I mean, I've said this before, but like early last year, we tried the 4-1-4-1, which did not work at all. But I'm wondering if we could try something like that again, considering we're not really getting much width, we're not really like doing much on the attacking side or having enough, I guess, playmakers or something going on, right? So I think maybe even trying that again since Knaus is out, like you could start in a 4-1-4-1 and have your playmakers up top, and then if we absolutely need to, we've seen different players play in that center midfield role. We could drop Areola back, which not ideal, but we could do it in the middle of a game if we absolutely needed to, or even TD Rodriguez has played there. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of down in theory on the not necessarily just swapping Durkin in, but yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty. To be honest, we've got quite a versatile squad with players who can play in different positions. So we've got many different tactics that we could use. And I mean, as you said there, the 4-1-4-1. To me, that's a bit too defensive, considering we've not been very attacking. Another potential could be a 4-4-2 diamond formation. That's one of my favourite formations because you've got that ball-winning midfielder who was just ahead of in front of the centre backs, but then you've got the wing play, but you've also got plenty of players up top as well. You've got that little guy, that number 10 role, who's looking after the attacks up top, where he's feeding in the strikers and things like that. And then you've got two strikers on the pitch as well, something which I think we need to start doing a heck of a lot more, considering we're being out attacked and we're not having much up top. So that for me, that could be a time for Rooney and Quincy to start up top together. Then you've got our new signing, Wild, who could start on the bench for once, which that was surprising, the fact that he didn't even make the 18 since we signed him to probably do that.
Yeah, I mean he just played with Loudon last night, so I'm wondering if they're trying to get him like more integrated first. I don't know, but yeah, it would be nice to see him on the bench, have some attacking options. Yeah, I mean even if we didn't put Quincy in, I think if we did start out with a 4-1-4-1 type of thing, you could also do the opposite of what I suggested earlier and push someone up instead of dropping them down into the midfield if you need to. So you could end up with something similar to that 4-4-2 diamond in that way as well. But yeah, I mean, we definitely need to start attacking more. We need to have some more options, and we need to create like 5 or 6 times more opportunities because we're not going to be able to score like enough to really make the playoffs if we're kind of playing like we're playing right now.
Yeah, and then there's a saying, attack is the best form of defense. That to me, that should be kind of the mantra going forwards for the rest of the season, is attack is the best form of defense and outscore the opponents. I'd be happy if we were conceding 2 or 3 goals a game, but if we were scoring 3-4 goals a game, would you agree with that?
I don't know about 2 or 3 goals, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. Like we obviously can't just be so conservative. We can't play that conservative anymore. Like we don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of being in a strong second place. We are slipping and like we're about to miss out on the playoffs. So if we don't start scoring goals and possessing the ball more than 27%, like we're not going to be able to do anything. I mean, you can talk as much about whatever, like I don't know whatever the coaching staff is saying, like, but we have to go forward and we have to score because we've drawn so many times and we've only won twice in our last 12 games or whatever. It's just not enough.
No, and 12 goals on the road so far this season says it all. I think and we've had 5 or 6 games where we've not scored. That's not good enough in any season. It doesn't matter whether you're down at the bottom or you're right at the top. Not scoring in 5 or 6 games, well, pretty much 50% of the road games so far. That's where we need to improve.
Yeah, I also think like it was really interesting. I saw like the expected goals for the Chicago game, and it was like 2 to 0.5 or something that against us, and so we're kind of living unsustainably, kind of even with these draws. I wouldn't expect us to have won that game, and credit to Bill Hamid, but at some point we can't just rely on the couple central defenders and Bill Hamid. We need to be able to support them and push up and actually attack and relieve some pressure from them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to sound too negative with this, so I'm going to try and talk about some positives from the Chicago game, which was the fact that we did keep a clean sheet, and that is the first time a team has kept a clean sheet at the SeatGeek Stadium as well. So that's one positive from the game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's always good. I think we've had really good success doing that this year overall, right? Like we're in the lead or tied for the lead in clean sheets. So that's definitely a good sign.
Yeah, it would be nice not to rely on them, but it's nice that we can. And the fact that we've got such good defenders right now is a great sign, and especially for the future when you've got the likes of Donovan Pines, who's I'd say he's going to be in the men's national team, not in the not too distant future. I think it's he's definitely one who's going to be a big player for us going forward for the next 4 or 5 years, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really interesting because when we were down in Atlanta, they have a defender who's pretty young and named Miles Robinson, who was on the preliminary roster for the Gold Cup, and you could definitely see like Miles Robinson and Donovan Pines being like the future center backs potentially because of how good they're performing at the clubs right now against like some really strong attacking teams. And yeah, it's just really interesting the talent that's being produced from uh, these academies in the case of Pines and our college systems and all of our development stuff right now that you could see that, and they're getting minutes, especially in Pines cases. I don't know about Robinson, but in Pines case, he got time at Loudon and that system's working and Loudon's playing a lot of really young players right now, and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, going off that with Loughton, they had a really good result recently, haven't they, against Louisville City? And one of ours, Bustamante, getting his first ever professional goal. Which have you managed to see that yet?
Yeah, so I watched this game. It was crazy. It was a great game, especially at the end. But yeah, it was a great goal.
Yeah, I've literally got it on. There was a nice little turn, good little layoff by Presley. Was it Presley who laid him off? And then
Yeah,
he
I
just
believe so.
cuts inside and off the inside of the post. It was just so nice. I mean that's going to be hopefully be a player we could have in our team in the not too distant future as well.
Yeah, and even watching these games, we were playing like, multiple 18-year-olds. We had a 15-year-old kid from the academy on there who's just absolutely killing it, doing really well. Like, we have a lot of young talent that we've acquired
Mm.
through different means, the academy and like some overseas folks that it seems very much like they're being developed to be in first team minutes, and like it's really exciting right now. Like the coach Ryan Martin, he used all of his subs, and it was really cool to see, these like really young kids getting in the chance to play and actually beat a pretty decent team. So yeah, it was a great game.
Did he use his subs before the 87th minute?
Yes, I believe I believe all of them were. The first one was at like 665 or whatever. I know, crazy,
Oh,
but
who'd have thought that?
yeah,
A head coach using the subs before the 87th. I can't believe I managed to guess that right.
yeah,
When
that
we
was
were
crazy.
that was something else. So for those who don't, we have our own sort of WhatsApp group, don't we?
Yeah.
And we were talking about obviously the game and Ben Olsen's lack of substitutions or lack of early substitutions, and kind of just on the off chance just said, we won't see him until the 87th minute, and lo and behold, apart from the Canals one, which was an enforced substitution, so we're not counting that one. At the 87th minute, when I think was it a double substitution he made in the end? I
I don't
think
think
it
it was double.
wasn't it. Oh, I'm just gonna have a quick look see if it was whether it was or it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, so it was Mora who came on, and then a minute later, Segura came on.
Yeah.
Uh,
But,
there you are.
but yeah, you guessed it right. I mean, yeah, I don't quite know. The hard part right now is like there's not too many options on the bench, right? Like obviously Mora is an option, but he's not necessarily like someone who's gonna come in and drastically change either the game plan necessarily or like the the end result. So yeah, I'm
I,
not sure.
it's my biggest problem with the bench that we had on against Chicago was the fact that we had three defenders on the bench, which I'm amazed. I rarely see teams who've got a fully fit squad using three defenders on the bench. It's usually two defenders, two midfielders, and two attackers. Granted, we generally only play with one out and out striker, but I would have I'm surprised. I would have liked to have seen Griffin Yeo on the bench, but I don't know where was he the other night?
I believe I don't know this for sure, but I believe he's in U17 international training right now.
Well, if that's the case, then fair enough. You can't really argue too much with that. But
They definitely have a camp either now or soon, so I think that must be where he is.
yeah, it was a shame. And plus, when you've got that bench to utilize, you don't utilize it in the last 2 3 minutes of the game where they can't make an impact. You want to I mean, even if you start bringing on subs in the 80th minute, that gives them enough time to do something at least.
The one name that we definitely didn't see was Zoltan Stieber because
He's
DC, yeah,
gone.
he's gone, and DC and him have officially, like, I guess, waived his contract, released him, whatever. Yeah, I'm guessing this is to make room for international slots and some salary cap room. So
Yes.
yeah, what did you think about that when you saw it?
Initial reaction was I'm not surprised. I'm happy for both sides because Steve wasn't getting any game time here. So it wasn't really fair to keep him around if he wasn't getting any game time. Um, and I was happy from our side because, as you just mentioned, it frees up an international slot. It frees up a huge amount of salary for getting whoever we're going to get in, which hopefully will be Amil Assad. But um, it's it's the right thing for both parties because now Steve can go back to Hungary and hopefully pick up a new club in Europe where he will get the game time. He will get back into the international scene for himself and get back to doing what he does best and playing football.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely wasn't surprised. I think, we haven't seen him even in the 18, and they said he was sick, and I think he did end up with like shingles or something. But I also did see a bunch of Instagram videos of him, training while the games were going on. So
Yeah,
I think the writing was on the wall for him for a little bit there. So
yeah,
yeah, not surprising. I'm kind of glad that it's just over. I'm really happy for his performances last year, especially like it just didn't necessarily work out 100%, and that's okay.
yeah. I think, like I said, it's been the best thing for everyone, um, and it's the right thing to do right now in his career. But it hasn't been the only transfer dealing, I want to say, since the last time we did a podcast together. Um, because obviously we brought in Wild. Keep getting his name wrong. I was confusing him Wild and Ward, but Wild's come in. But then we released Akeem Ward. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I'm not too happy about that. I mean, I've seen him play for Loudoun and the time that he played for DC. I think he did fine. I wouldn't say that he didn't play well enough on either side, and it's kind of sad, but this kind of stuff does happen. We do have a couple of fullbacks coming back from injuries, so our depth is getting way better than we have had for a while there. So that's probably what the calculus was, but still definitely like a relatively big loss, and I think a pretty big asset lost as well.
Yeah, and I've not seen him re-sign with Loudoun United as a USL player, which is going to be a massive shame. Because if he stuck with Loudoun, it could have potentially reopened that door to come back to the club again. So yeah, it is a massive shame. And each time that I saw him, he looked decent, and I think he's got a lot of potential to become a top player. So yeah, I think we may end up regretting that decision.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna go to a MLS team, but I could definitely see him signing somewhere else in the USL. I do follow him on Instagram, and I saw that he, posted a picture of him on some plane. So yeah, he's probably just exploring his options. I could also see him coming back to Loudoun if that's where you know his best option ends up being. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a shame. I think at this point he could have signed with Loudon if he wanted, but I think yeah, he's exploring his options. So I'm glad that he's doing that and not just accepting the first thing for him, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we can't have them all.
No, it's true. It is very true. There's only so many slots you can have in your roster after all.
But this also means that I'm hoping we do make some actual moves here because I believe we're gonna have one or two at least international spots, if not more, if Mora gets his green card stuff situated. So yeah, I'm hoping we do make some moves. There's been some small rumblings, and we do have Jose Torres in a trial right now with the team. So we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah. It's he's always been in Mexico, Jose Torres, hasn't he? If he signs for Star B, it's first time in America, but he is an American now, or is he dual?
yeah,
Is he dual national?
I don't know if he's dual national, but I know he's definitely American because he's played on our national team before a decent amount of times. So um, just not for a while. I think it's
Yeah.
been at least 5 years, I would guess. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a decent depth option. I don't predict he would cost too terribly much. And I think that kind of player is something we need, like a midfielder kind of player who's a little bit more than just a defensive midfielder. So yeah.
Well, fingers crossed he does well for us, and if he does sign permanently, he'll be a good asset to the team.
And yeah, we also do need to get Emil Assad. I am gonna beat this horse.
Oh, we look back at last season, just kind of in terms of signings that made an impact. So Rooney came in and made a massive impact. We weren't doing very well at all before he joined us. We were sat pretty much bottom of the Eastern Conference. And then he came in. Yes, we had Audi Field to come back to as well, but that made a huge impact. And re-signing Assad might not have the same level of impact as a Rooney signing, but it would make a significant impact to the team, and it could be that moment in our year that could change the whole season and set us on the right foot to get them back and making that playoff run.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I would definitely get a jersey, like I've said hundreds of times. I think every single podcast I say that. But yeah, it looks like the rumors are that they were looking at Assad and at least one other player. So we definitely need some blood here, especially since we've released Stieber, who was a decent, at least in theory, off the bench option,
Yeah.
and not just another defender on the bench. So um, yeah,
Should we talk about the upcoming game?
absolutely.
Yeah, so we've got Philadelphia Union in the next game at Audi Field, which is on Sunday, your time, but Monday morning for me, and it's being broadcast yet again. Just a quick question before we actually get into the game. Who's it being broadcast by? Do you know?
I don't because I'm probably gonna try to go, but
Yeah,
if I had to guess,
I'd imagine
uh,
it'd be Flo.
I guess so. It could be a national game, but it seems kind of a smaller game. But yeah, I don't know.
If it's Flo, at least then I'll get Dave Johnson to listen to, which
Yeah,
would be
that's true.
nice. Match day. Yeah, it's not even on our on the DC website yet. Who's it being broadcast by? So, uh, for me, I know this sounds weird. I hope it is Flow, just because of the channel that it's being broadcast on over here shows the US version with the commentary as well. So I'd get Dave Johnson, which would be good. Um, if if not, then I'll just get whoever we get. But yes, that game. Philadelphia didn't have the best of their games in their last game against Impact, did they?
No, they got pretty much crushed pretty bad. I think it was what 4-0 or something. So yeah, that was a rough one for them.
Yeah, it was interesting to see, especially at home as well, to get beat by that much. It was just the results kind of went our way at the weekend, and it was just a shame that we didn't take too much an advantage. But this is the fixture that I went to last year. It was my first ever DC fixture. I just hope it's better than the last time I was there. I was there last year, so because it was a 2-0 defeat last year, which was a shame.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was a hot, sweaty night if I remember when I was at that game. But just looking back at the stats on the game for Philadelphia and their game against the Impact, it was actually away, not at home. They really didn't do very well. They had only 3 attempts on target out of 13, so they weren't exactly doing too good there. They had the majority of possession, they just didn't do anything with it. So it's kind of a game where it might end up falling into our favour for our style of play. The fact that they seem to like to have the majority of the possession. I don't know, how do you see this one going down?
Yeah, I mean, I am not too positive about it considering our form. I mean, we do return home. I think Philadelphia struggled a tad. I mean, obviously the last game, but beyond that, I think a little bit they've struggled. But they're still number one, and they're doing pretty well overall. So it's going to be a tough test. We've beaten them at home for the Open Cup, which was nice. but this is the league play and a little bit different beast. So yeah, we really need the points, especially since they're in first, especially if we want to like really make a try for the number one spot, which seems kind of out of reach, but not totally. So I'd rather be aiming for that than trying to aim for just above the playoff line.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the conference at the moment. We're actually only 3 points behind Philly at the top, so somehow we're still within reach of that. And you look at their records on the road at the moment. They're 4 wins, 5 defeats, and 3 ties. So they're not exactly great on the road, and we've only been beaten twice at home. So we're doing well from a home kind of point of view. It's I don't know. Despite our form, I think we could sneak in 3 points. I don't think it's going to be a convincing victory if we're going to win. It'll be a tight game. I just hope the crowd are up for it, and we the team send the fans home happy.
The Union and DC don't really like each other that much, so I think it'll be a fun game, a little chippy probably, and yeah, so I think a lot of people will show up too. I mean, it's a, like, regional thing. It's not too far from Philly, and I'm sure a lot of the Philly fans will come down for it. And yeah, like I mentioned, it's a kind of a rivalry, not the biggest one we have, but kind of formed into one of our smaller rivals. So we really need to really get these 3 points. They have a few weapons. Aronson has been playing pretty well. I think he's like 18 or something. He's been playing really well, and so he could sneak one in. He snuck one in against Atlanta at Atlanta. So if he could do that there, I think he could probably do that at Audi Field too. So try to mark
Yeah,
him and stuff. So yeah.
yeah, absolutely. They've got plenty of decent players. There's a reason why they're at the top of the conference. We've got to be on our A game. Hopefully we can bring it. And like I said, I just hope that they send the fans home happy and send me to bed happy. That would be nice.
Yeah, I remember on one of our podcasts a while ago, or I guess right when the second of half of the season started, you predicted we'd win this game. Are you gonna stick with that?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with it. Granted, I'm not as positive as we were back then. So I know we went through each of the games, and I don't think we've got that. We got the Cincy game right. I
Yeah,
know that much.
the most obvious one. Yeah,
Yeah,
we got that one.
yeah. If we got that if we got that one wrong, I think I would have cried. But yeah, I'm still going to stick with it. Because like I said, their roads form hasn't been great, and we've done decently at home. And the fact that it is a little rivalry game, hopefully that will spark a bit of passion in there. Hopefully Ben will be able to get the players going for a full 90 minutes for once. And if needs be, hopefully make a substitution before the 87th minute. Hopefully he might make one in the 85th minute this time round. But yeah, I could still see us winning this one. I just think it'll just be really, really tight and hopefully a very entertaining game.
Yeah, I kind of want to see something like crazy, like when he benched Hamid. That was kind of crazy. It'd be like kind of like sending a message, I guess, when he broke a team rule or whatever. But I'm not saying we should bench Hamid, obviously, because we
God,
need him. But
yeah,
but like sending that a similar message maybe to someone else or something to shake something up and like really get them going. Like I don't know, but we can't just line up the same way, talk the same way about everything, and expect to really get on good form.
yeah, that's it. I think you were saying that what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah, exactly.
It that's what it feels like at the moment. Is he's going doing the same thing but wanting a different result? It's just never going to happen. So I'm just looking at the Union's injury list at the moment. They've got 4 players definitely out and one who's as they've put it on the MLS website, questionable. So they've got a few injuries.
Yeah,
So,
who's out?
so you've got Olivier Mbazo, who's a defender. He's got a left knee injury. Montero's out with an ankle sprain. Keeper Matt Freeze, he's got a right quad strain. Sergio Santos, with an ankle sprain as well. And the questionable is Mickey Ngalina with a lower body injury, whichever way you want to put that.
Yeah, that sounds bad.
Yeah,
so that's a lot of their starters. Those are some of the really big players, and yeah, they've been struggling on defense. They've had to do some backups playing and stuff. And if Sergio Ramos is out, that's one of their bigger signings from the offseason, as I think he's like a center striker. So yeah, that's a lot of people out. So I don't think we're going to be playing necessarily a full strength Union team.
Yeah, that's hopefully going to play into our hands very nicely. Because I mean, for me, one of the big players who I've liked in a way is Montero. I think he's been pretty decent from what I've seen of him.
Yeah, he's been crushing it.
Yeah, so having him out, yeah, that's awesome for us. So hopefully we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, all the best to those players dealing with their injuries, but yeah, it seems like it'll feed well into our plans because we're pretty much going to be having a full strength squad here. I don't think really anyone's out. If anything, we just keep getting back players that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, and the only player that we've got out at the moment is O'Neill Fisher. And that's it.
And potentially Knaus, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, that until anything official comes out. I mean, to be fair, it might have been a really bad winding. It could have been that. So I would have liked to have thought we would have heard something if it was anything more serious than that. So yeah, fingers crossed. It's not anything worse than a really, really bad winding.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely seemed worse, but you never really know. I mean, he stayed on the sideline, I think, so probably not terrible. But yeah, I mean, even looking into the last part of the season here, we're not going to be playing as many games as a lot of other teams or even ourselves in the beginning of the season, but a lot of them are actually pretty strong games. We play the Red Bulls twice. We play a lot of really hard teams to beat. We play the Galaxy, the Sounders, I think I saw, and the Union as well. So yeah, it's kind of worrying a little bit.
Yeah, we've got two big road trips. One at the start of September against Montreal Impact, and then Portland Timbers a couple of weeks later. So that's going to be a couple of, even before that, we've got Philly Union. So we've got 3 road games in a row. That's going to be a tricky, potentially season-changing few fixtures there, I reckon, because that then leads us into the last 3 games. And yeah, we shall see what happens. But for me, I think that those Philly Union game, Impact and Timbers, they're going to be the key point in the season where we'll either make the playoffs or we won't make the playoffs.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and it sucks to have to even be saying that because we were so solidly quote unquote in the playoffs for a while and in a safe spot. But if you can't win, you're not going to stay in that location. So yeah,
exactly.
But yeah, I think that's all we got for this week. Is there anything else you wanted to chat about?
Not really, no. Just thanks for having me on again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And do you want to remind people where to find you and what kind of everything like that?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at DC United Kingdom, on Facebook and Instagram as well, which is at DC United Kingdom FC. You can also find the website dcunitedkingdom.com, which if you are anywhere in the world, you can come and join us. There is the supporters group there, which you can fill a form in. There's just a nice little membership link there. And that's about it from me. So, like I said, thank you for having me on again, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And yeah, everyone, you can find me on Twitter at DCU_soccer if you don't already follow. And feel free to leave a rating and review in iTunes or wherever else you listen to the podcast. And yeah, we'll see you next week.